Hello folks, Scott here with a new video for you today. We've been making handmade Christmas cards for the last 20 years or so, but about 4.5 years ago I made a purchase that changed my crafting habits forever. And this is my silhouette. This is the portrait. This is the small size that only cuts up to 8 inches in width. Since most of the cards I do are A2 cards, I figured an 8-inch cut was more than sufficient. This is a much smaller price point than the big Silhouette Cameo. I love my Silhouette. I cannot tell you how much I enjoy playing with it, using it, and creating with it. So for this year's card for Christmas of 2016, this is what we have. A nice gray envelope. I found these, made these nice stickers for the back. That is a door knocker. Open it up, pull out the card, and the card folds open into a shadow box. I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all of the year. Very pleased with this card. I thought you all might enjoy my process and how I arrived at this finished card. This is what inspired me, my little fridge magnet. So I sat down and did a quick little sketch of what I thought a shadow box card might look like. I didn't spend a lot of time on this sketch, obviously, because I knew I wouldn't cut this down and use this actually. This was just basically a quick little sketch to see what I would be going for. So I started working on the individual layers themselves. I knew the background layer would be just a moon, so I didn't need to do anything specific for that. But then I sketched out and cut out my other layers for the cards. This is layer 3. The moon would be behind this. I just sketched this out on some scrap cardstock, cut it out with an X-Acto knife. That's layer 3 with the skyline, some graveyard, and a nice gnarly tree up in the right corner. Then I went on to layer 2. My second layer went through some changes. Originally it was just a little broken fence and the tombstone right there. I realized that the tombstone needed some support, so I added these tree branches. And of course, I had to add in the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. So added in him on the side, pointing to the gravestone. This is layer number 2 out of the 4 layers. And then the front layer is really the easiest layer of all. It just has Scrooge kneeling, a couple of pieces of the graveyard. Very simple. This is the frontmost layer. Of course, it needs to be the simplest if you're layering it up with all of the other images. So I could just stack these up and see kind of where we were going with these layers. Now, while I was working on these, I also needed to work on the mechanics of the card. So I knew I wanted my finished card to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. This is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but that it needed to fold and open so that it gave you 4 layers and still fit inside an A2 card. So that would give me a 1/4 inch between each of the layers. So you have the background here, which would have the moon. Layer 3, which would be the skyline and the tree. Layer 2, which would be the tombstone and the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come. And then the front layer, which would be Scrooge himself. So if you subtract 3/4 of an inch from 5 1/2, you get 4 3/4 inches. So each of the pieces, the main pieces of the card, would be 4 1/4 by 4 3/4. So I was very pleased with that because it still gave us a slightly rectangular card. So I created this little template just with my scissors, knife, and a ruler to see if this would all work and my measurements would work. I established that this was the correct way to go. Of course, now I started worrying about colors and what colors would I use. I started looking around for 4 different shades of gray in matching cardstocks, which almost drove me crazy. But then I realized that I could print 4 shades of gray on cardstock. So that saved me a lot of time, trouble, and probably money, although I did use a lot of ink in printing these. But I ultimately just went with plain, normal, this is Staples gray cover stock, 80-pound cover stock, Staples gray, very inexpensive, very sturdy, very easy to work with. This is the 4 colors printed on that same cardstock. I knew these were the colors that I was going to go with. So I scanned all my images into the computer. I put a piece of black cardstock behind all of the yellow pages. I turned the yellow pages around to the back. I scanned them from the back just to avoid any stray pencil marks or anything that might mess with the original scan. These are the scans that I then imported into my Silhouette software to create cut files for. And these are ultimately the cut files for my cards. You can see the red lines are where the Silhouette will cut. I love the Silhouette because it allows you the opportunity to work on each of your cut lines down to a point. This is, you can edit all of your cut lines point by point by point by point. I did a lot of editing. I did a lot of cleaning up. I did add this scallop design at the top of the front panel, kind of to echo a curtain, give it a feel of possibly a theater shadow box. I also added an extra 1/4 inch on the top and bottom of the first 3 layers, so I could fold those back and provide a little more stability to the horizontal aspects of the card. Also, one of the nice things with the Silhouette is that you can cut little itty-bitty tiny slits. So these are the little slits that the 2 center pieces will go into, and the Silhouette would cut them just fine. Very happy with my Silhouette. I enjoy using it, enjoy seeing if I can push it to its limits. So now I've scanned everything into the computer. I've printed them out. I've cut them out. These are our layers as they come out of the Silhouette. 1, 2, 3, 4. We did have an extra layer, of course, a back layer that would go behind the back and provide a color for the moon in the background. So let's put this together. I took the back piece. We're going to fold in the 2 sides. With this cover stock, which is really pretty heavy duty, I did go ahead and actually cut dashed lines for all of my fold lines. I thought they held really very well that way. I folded the sides in on the back piece using a Zig 2-way glue pen. Easy enough to then attach the back piece onto the back of the card. This just has our little logo on the bottom. So I didn't add the extra 1/4 inch on the top or bottom of this back piece because I knew I'd be adding that extra piece on the back. So now we have a nice back piece to our card. This is ultimately where we wrote a message, and this is the background of the card. This also becomes, shall we say, the wings of the stage. So then we take the other 2 score lines and fold those over. These are what the first layer are going to get attached to. So it almost looks seamless. You can almost not tell how the card was put together. So those are folded in. I've got the slits on each side for the 2 extra layers. So then layer 3, we do have that extra stiffening piece on the top and the bottom I ended up using score tape, a really strong tape on the back, just to hold those closed. I tried using some other glues, but this paper is really strong, even with the cut score lines. So again, score tape on the back of those. Pull that up, fold it over. Gives us a great deal more stability on the top and bottom edges. Now these just slot right into the slots cut on the background. The paper is easy enough to manipulate into those slots. Pop them right in there. Both sides will go right in without having to actually fold anything. Just an easy bend and slide them in. And there you have the second layer, which is 1/4 of an inch above the background layer. Then we have our second layer with the tombstone and the ghost. Again, this has the extra pieces on the top and bottom. The score tape worked great. I knew that it would go down and that it would stay glued. So this layer 2 then slots into that second slot on the side of the back piece. Again, fairly easy to bend it and slip it into that slot. Same on both sides. It was interesting, once I did all of the practical design work and getting all of the files created in Silhouette, these cards went together actually quite quickly. So that's our background, layer 3, layer 2, one more layer left. This is our front layer. Again, I'm using score tape to hold those down. So this is my top piece. You can tell it fits right on those 2 pieces that were from the back. So again, I used my 2-way glue pen. Whoops. I shouldn't have pushed on that. A little extra glue there. I'm glad I turned the card over. And a little glue on the other side. That piece out of the way. Fold that lip under. And attach the front piece to that. I got a little extra glue on the top there. But that is the assembly of the card. Of course, that fits inside a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch envelope. We did have the whole back of the card with which to write our Christmas greetings. I really enjoyed this. I hope you like this card too, folks. Please like me, pin me, post me. If you like this video, let me know, and we'll do more cards and more Christmas cards for you. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed.